My name is Barbara Lewis, and I'm a singer and a vocal coach. And I have a channel on YouTube called Singing After 40. And for any of you who are into singing or just are interested in singing, I welcome you to visit Singing After 40. In this video, I want to answer the question, can we preserve our aging voices? And I want to start with a story. I have a great friend, her name is Anna, and she told me a story about one day she was in a coffee shop. It was a long lineup, so she wasn't at the front, but when she got to the front and it was her turn, the young man behind the counter looked at the man behind her and asked him what he would like. Well, Anna was very affronted, and she said, "You may not see me, but you're damn well gonna hear me." Anna is an actor, and she's also a director. She's a big woman. She takes her space in the world. But she told me that she finds that often she is not seen in public spaces, in these public situations. I couldn't believe her because she's a feisty woman and she has a shock of white hair. How could she not be seen? But later I spoke with quite a few other women who are our age, 60s, 70s, 80s, and a surprising number of them agreed with Anna and said that they're often not seen in public spaces. But there are also women whose voices betray them. And they find that not only are they not seen, but they can't be easily heard. I have another friend, Lena, who lives in Mexico. She's in her 60s, still working hard. She works in a male-dominated industry, so she has to be pretty strong, pretty tough. She told me, "My mother had a huge voice, and so does my daughter, who is a lawyer. But my voice now is getting kind of weak, and it's hard for me to be heard. I have to raise my arms and wave and shout." She said, "It's an emotional issue for me. I don't feel valued. I feel like I'm worth nothing." I'm a singing teacher and a singer, as I told you, and I work especially with singers who are over 40, both men and women. And I find that a lot of people come to me with vocal issues, not just the desire to sing, but also problems with their voices, tremors and shakes. Some people say that, like Lena, that they can't be heard anymore, or that their voices tire too quickly, and they say, "Can we fix this?" There are some women who find that their voices are getting lower and lower, whereas the men say their voices are getting kind of high and whiny. I hear quite a lot of despair in these queries. Aging is not an easy thing, and when you can't express yourself easily and with pleasure through your voice, it makes it even harder. So what is it about our voices that age in this way, and what can we do about it? In my quest to find more answers to this question, I came across a book called Singing Through Change. It was written by Nancy Bowes, Joanne Bozeman, and Kate Fraser Neely. It deals with what happens in a woman's body just before menopause, during menopause, and just after. And it was written really with singers, professional and non-professional, in mind. But it's a book that I feel every woman should read who has had vocal issues. They claim, and I'm going to quote them, that this is the first time that any published source has shared so many individual experiences in a book. They spoke with many different singers at different phases of their singing careers, from both professional and amateurs, who had had difficulties with singing, or had come into difficulties with singing due to menopause. And there are so many different problems that people have had. That's why I recommend that you read it, because no matter what you're facing in terms of your voice, there may be, that's the good news, there may be an answer. And you don't just have to chalk your vocal problems, your vocal issues up to aging. All of these singers found something that they could do. Either they healed it, they found ways to deal with it, or they came to accept a new kind of voice. So I highly recommend this book. What are these things that happen in our bodies that change our voices? We lose some of the elasticity in the cartilage in our ribs. Our lung tissue becomes less pliable. We lose some muscle mass, and that means even in the vocal bands that make our voices what they are, as they vibrate around our heads, they lose some muscle mass and the voice becomes thinner, and sometimes the mouth becomes much drier. However, the opposite can be true, like my Aunt Ursula, who carried with her always something to mop her eyes and to mop the saliva from her mouth because she had way too much water. We laughed about it on the phone, but I know she found that embarrassing, and I'm so happy that she found an answer to it. So some of the things that are suggested in this book, and just in life and in my experience, is that women take some singing lessons. So what does that do? Well, singing lessons at the very beginning reteach you how to stand. They give you better posture, because in order to breathe well to sing, your posture has to be pretty good. So you learn how to stand again. You learn more about breathing. And with most older singers who are having a bit of difficulty, I suggest that they start to speak out loud a little bit every day. I say to them, speak out loud something you love to someone you love, even if the person that you're speaking to is yourself. Also, in singing, you have to learn how to express through a song. And songs connect you, or they reconnect you to your emotions. And I find that's very helpful for a voice, that you're letting emotions come through your voice that you may not have expressed for a long time. So in singing songs, you express more of yourself. In singing vocal exercises, you learn more about how the muscles coordinate in your head, and there are many of them in your chest and your neck. All of this coordinates together, 100 muscles. Also, if you decide you want to perform, that takes you into another kind of realm of expression where you're giving to an audience of 1, of 20, of 200. You don't have to perform to gain all of this through singing, but that's another kind of realm. Another way to use your singing voice is to be in a choir. There's a lot of studies done now about how much choir singing helps people. Apparently, there's some chemical called oxytocin that's released during choir singing. And this is a chemical that's involved in social bonding. And it's believed to give rise to the feelings of togetherness and friendship that comes from singing together. All of these things can add up to a greater desire to express through your voice. And that can only help to overcome some of these issues that we have, in my opinion. I feel, and I have no studies to support this, but I feel that women our age and older long to express themselves, long to express deep feelings, and we don't have occasions quite often when we can express ourselves fully and authentically. And you can through singing, and you can more so through choir. But what if none of this works? Well, it may be then time to go to a speech-language pathologist. As a person who's very highly trained to deal with many, many vocal issues. I have a friend here in Montreal, her name is Melanie Tapson, who's highly regarded as a speech-language pathologist, and she's also a very fine professional singer. She gave me a long list of things that she deals with, but the most common perhaps are trouble with swallowing, pain upon swallowing, chronic cough, chronic hoarseness, volume changes. I also asked her to give me a couple of things that she would suggest to those of us who are having some vocal problems. And she said, well, keep singing or sing. She also said to just look after your whole body because the body supports the voice. The final question that I asked her was, what about surgery? Because now there are things that you can do with surgical procedures to improve your voice. One of them is fillers, actually injecting fillers into your vocal cords to plump them up. And her answer to the question about various procedures was that some of them work for some people, but you have to be careful to have a really good team of people helping you to recover from these procedures so that you get the best possible result. So these are some of the things that you can do if you're having vocal problems. But I encourage you, look for answers because you deserve to be heard. You deserve to communicate your fullest self. That's it from me, Barbara Lewis, Singing After 40. Bye-bye.